welcome back to another episode of building the USS Defiant in Lego. And last update, we were working on this prototype of some of the crew quarters along with a corridor. And we were building this at the 120-meter version of the USS Defiant. In today's episode, we are going to be attempting to prototype the crew quarters for the 170-meter version, and that is based on the deck plans that you can see underneath this prototype. Now, there was a lot of comments after the last update where people were suggesting that 170 meters was the way to go. And one of the main reasons for this is that although minifigures are 1:42 scale in terms of their height, when it comes to their width, it's out of proportion to a human body. So they should actually be narrower, but because Lego is Lego and it has its own unique identity and dimensions, obviously our Lego minifigures are a little bit wider than they should be. Now, I could base the whole ship off just the height, and realistically I could get away with this 120-meter version. But it does feel a bit cramped. And so today, as I say, I'm going to be working on the 170-meter version crew quarters to see how I feel about that size. And also, it'll be a really good opportunity for me to align it with the original corridor section that I prototyped, because that realistically, based on these deck plans, fits very nicely, and that therefore is probably sitting at the 170-meter version. So enough of my waffling. I'm going to go grab some bricks and plates and start working on this prototype. And welcome back after that time lapse. Hopefully you enjoyed seeing sort of some of the work that's gone into this prototype. It is very basic at this point, I will say, but hopefully it's given me the sort of ground scale, which is what I'm after. Now, as we can see here, Rolaren is in that top bunk there, and to be quite honest, I mean, it's way too big for her. In terms of the length, but in terms of the width, I think it's about right. And to be quite honest, had I gone with a smaller version of the room, I think I wouldn't have been able to get this much width on the bunks without starting to take away from the rest of the space. Now, what I haven't put in here yet is there's a computer terminal with a chair. Once you get that in there, I think this is going to be quite a cozy little space. Not sure what I'm going to do about the door yet, but 4 studs wide is roughly what I think it needs to be in order to sort out the width. Now, if we take it over to our plans, we can see straight away that the walls are lining up with the walls, and width-wise, we are absolutely spot on in terms of the front wall and the back wall. So that I'm really pleased about. Now, in terms of the bunk, it probably could have come out an extra stud, but I felt that that would have then made it longer than it needed to be and wider than it needed to be. So I'm quite happy with what I've got there, and that just leaves a little bit more space on the inside. Get that on camera. On the inside there to get a little bit more kind of the elements that need to be in there. The plan is also to have potentially all of these rooms tiled. However, that will almost double the bricks. So I'm going to think about how I'm going to do it in terms of the walls. Obviously, I'm using masonry bricks here. Those won't be used in the final design. The floor will also be tiled as well. And so when you start to think about, tiling the floor, which is why I've started off with a plate and then built up the bricks, so that the tiles there are level with the first tile. And this is 6 bricks high, so we've got two plates making up the floor. Then we've got a tile around the walls, so that's the first brick, and then we've got 5 bricks here, taking us to a total of 6, which is roughly where I want it to be. Now, this I think works really well, and I could just imagine a corridor of these. I think there is 4 in a row here, so to duplicate that 3 more times would be quite good. And I think this works about right here. So we've got 2 studs here before the wall, then another 2 studs before the next door. So I think that works well. I think I've possibly taken, I mean, it's about a half a stud that I would have to lose here for the doorway to be correct with the plans. But what I'm thinking is that I'm just going to accept that my model won't be exact to the plans. It will be very, very close, but not exact. And as I say, this is always, the plans have always been intended to be a handrail rather than an absolute directive of what must be produced. So I think I'm really liking this. This is going really well. I will need to do some work on the bunks. I've put these sort of curved pieces in for now, and I'm not sure whether I like them. I think they are too shallow. I think I want something which is more of a right-angled curve, which would then bring the end of this bunk or the opening of this bunk a bit smaller. I will put a tile in here, and then this will all be tiled off, and then the pillows, I think I'm going to make it with some ingot pieces. I think that will look about right and should work nicely. But it will be tight for the minifigures, like it should be. So this is this will the ceiling will be just above the head, which gives enough room to squeeze out. Now, noting that my minifigures aren't actually going to climb in and out, I really just am looking for something that is representative at this point. And I will play around with the spacings between the bunks, whether I make it slightly narrower and therefore give slightly more space at the top. Not sure, but I'll have a think about that for the final design. Once I've got the final design, of course, it will then simply be a case of replicating these wherever on the plans I've got the crew quarters. And bearing in mind that there are, I think, only 50 crew total on the Defiant, then it's really not that many. So you know, it shouldn't be too many, particularly as all these crew quarters are pretty much doubled up. So you'd have 2 crew per cabin. I think the only one that doesn't have 2 would be the captain's quarters, which I'm not sure. I need to double check, but I think they are just off to the side here. I think this is the crew captain's quarters just behind the bridge, so we'll have to have a look at that. Cool, right, so what's next? Well, I need to dive into the plans, the diagrams, images that I've got of the crew quarters to work out what the console looks like, and try to work that a bit more. And I'm also going to need to work out how this connects to the main corridor model prototype, which I've already done. So I think that's what I'm going to do next, and then I'll be back with that shortly. Okay, and I'm back with the corridor. Now this is not, it's got too many bricks, it's got a Technic brick beneath it, so that's not particularly helping with making these the same height. So I think what I'm going to do is go away and work on modifying the corridor so that this door here can be this door here and attach it. Now, currently, as the way I've already built this corridor, is that I've got 3 additional studs there. And the plan was that I would have an air gap of 1 stud, and then the next interior wall would come up next. Now, based on these plans, I think the wall thickness is going to be just 1 brick, unfortunately. And that raises questions as to how I'm going to do the tiles on the main corridor and get the right colour on the inside of these crew quarters. That is going to be quite a challenge. Now, it may well be that I can reverse the snot bricks. So I've got snots. In fact, these snot bricks are some facing that way and some facing inwards, and then I can tile it accordingly. And that probably is the best plan that I can come up with. Now, if that's the case, I absolutely will need these dark tan tiles to be 3x2s, and obviously, as I've mentioned in previous videos, I will be doing those in dark bluish grey rather than dark tan, but I still need them in 3x2s. That way I can then swap some of the snot bricks to face the other way, and then tile accordingly. So it's going to be a challenge, but one I'm looking forward to. So what I want to do, I think, what I'm going to do for this update, because I can't do everything, of course, is I'm going to look to take this apart and attach it to this, and then I will use these 3 studs here as the first 3 studs on this plate, and therefore I should have a corridor with a piece coming off through the crew quarters, and then we can lie that on the deck plans and see just how that looks. So I'm going to go away and get that squared away, and I will be right back in a flash. So having gone away and done a bit of modifying, I now have the corridor section and the crew quarter prototype all as one piece, which I'm really pleased with how it's come out. Now, based on the plans, this T section here is not quite where it needs to be. It probably needs to be over by probably 3 studs, but I'm relatively happy with it for now, just as a prototype. It does raise questions such as what am I going to do about the door itself, and I've still got to this is definitely not a finished prototype, nor is this one, to be fair, but it's giving me an idea of scale, and I reckon that this size crew quarters here absolutely can be replicated again here, here, and here. So that would give me then 4 crew quarters. I could easily replicate this corridor section now further down, and it will really start to give me a good start on the ship. And this is deck 1, remember, so there will be obviously more to come with the other decks, but for now this is a really good start. Now, what I will say is there are some questions, obviously. Firstly, where am I going to put the Technic bricks and beams that are going to support, lift arms I should say, that are going to keep all of this together? And obviously when I come to display it, when I come to transport it, and when I'm storing it, all of the questions come around how do I make this modular so that A, I can store it, B, I can transport it, and C, I can then put it together at a show, potentially in different formats. So it might be that I only display half of the ship, but I still need to work out how I'm going to, or which part of the design or which part of the ship I'm going to split it in half or even thirds. I'm not sure. There's lots of questions, but this is giving me a really good start. Now, in terms of the plans moving forward, I was thinking, and I had applied to display these bits and some of the other bits at Brickfest Portsmouth. But having spoken now via email with the organizer, there is some concern that I haven't got enough to make up a display, which is absolutely fair, and I acknowledge that we're still very early on in the display. He did offer me the option of displaying sort of on half a table with others, but to be quite honest, I think if I'm going to do it, I just want to have my own table and just go for it. And ultimately, most of the display at the moment would be the plans that this prototype is currently sat on. So I don't really want to let them down by not having something really worth looking at. Now, in terms of moving forward, obviously I could replicate more of the crew quarters. I don't really want to do that until I've worked out how to do the walls. So I think that might be the next thing I work on, is just taking the crew quarters here, working on turning these walls so that I can put the tiles on both sides. Also want to do the little console piece that's in there, so I need to look at that. The bunk space I'm pretty happy with. I think that's all down to having the right pieces, so I'm not going to worry too much about that. And the floor would be tiled off as well, with maybe a jumper plate or two if I'm putting minifigures in there. So I'm in a fairly good place with this, and I think the corridor. In terms of the prototype I originally made had me putting essentially a ceiling on the hallway, and then having a 3 brick high section, which was for the Jeffries tubes. I'm now debating whether not to do the Jeffries tube in terms of modelling it, but actually use that space for lighting and also for the Technic structure, because otherwise I'm really not seeing how I'm going to be able to put that structure in there, and therefore create the strength that I need for being able to A, put it on a display stand, but also B, the length of it and how much support it's going to have from a display stand. So there's a lot of questions around structural integrity, which I think that Jeffries tube section between the decks will give me some answers. Also, if I just move down for a quick second, there are on the decks these spaces like here where there's nothing really planned. So that will give me some dead space, which I can again use for battery packs, but also put in various supports and the like. So that is another option. So that's what I'm going to be cracking on with moving forward. I think there are other elements that I could look at, such as the transport room, because it's a small little area. If I wanted to go bigger, I could start working on main engineering, which could be fun. But again, it's just about having the pieces, and I need to really have a good think about how am I going to financially support, or how am I financially going to go about managing this project or this mock, because it's already very noticeable how many pieces that it takes up, and with the walls being only 1 brick thick, I'm going to need to use snot bricks to come up with that solution, and they aren't cheap either. So there's a lot of questions. Plates are the other thing. I've built all of this deck so far on plates. And if you think I'm going to need enough plates to cover essentially 4 meters long for, I think, deck 3, which is the longest deck, there's a lot there to do and to worry about. So yeah, if you've got suggestions, if I could look at Patreon, I could look at Buy Me a Coffee. I think somebody suggested in the comments of the last video. YouTube's not yet paying, although I'm getting closer to 250 subscribers, which in the short space of time I've been doing this is amazing. So thank you so much if you've recently subscribed. And if you haven't, why not? Please just hit that subscribe button. It makes a big difference to the channel, and all the views are massively helping as well. So yeah, lots of things to think about. And apologies that I didn't get this out after 2 weeks. Life has been really busy at the moment with work, just leaving one team and joining a new team in a different role. So that's taken up quite a bit of time, and we're getting into the summer months. So look, as I say, it's always going to be a passion project. This is not my full-time job, and I will get videos out when I can. And again, this video probably hasn't had that much progress, but we will look to continue to improve and build up the progress as we can. So anyway, that's really it for this update. If you've liked the video, do please hit that like button. If you haven't subscribed, subscribe. And if you know anybody who'd be interested in building the USS Defiant in Lego, then do please share this video with them. And until next time, take care, and I'll see you then.